how does one find their spiritual path?
I'm sorry. What? I'm sorry. I'm reminded of the story. Master Kim told the story one time. So there's a woman in her front yard, and she's out on the lawn and she's looking down like she's looking for something. And someone comes along and says, "Did you lose something?" She said, "Yes, I did." And he said, "What did you lose?" He said, "I dropped an earring." He goes, can I help you look for it?" She said, sure. They're looking around. He said, "Whereabouts did you lose?" She said, "Upstairs in my bedroom." And he said, "Why are you out here looking in the grass?" She goes, "Oh, I can see out here."
Yeah.
We know where the spiritual path is. It isn't lost. We don't need to find it. You're already on a spiritual path. You notice how people are always looking for more?
Yes.
No matter what it is. If they buy a new car, it's not good enough. I have to have something else. They buy a house, it's not good enough. I have to, whatever they reach, there's always something else. The reason is because you're on a spiritual path. Because some part of you recognizes that there's much more to me than just this. And so you're chasing that, but you don't know you're chasing it. And our search went out when the search should have went in. So all you're doing is, where do you find your spiritual path? Turn around. Just turn around. Because we keep going down the path away from ourselves. The spiritual path is inside. It's turning inwards. So you don't have to find it. It's already here. You're just walking away from it. And if you can recognize and realize that you're walking away from it, you'll stop and turn around and come back. And I think it was T.S. Eliot, I think, once said, and I don't know the exact words, but we'll go on a journey, right? And on this journey, trying to find things. And on our journey, we'll come back to the same place we started, only to see it for the first time. And that's what spiritual path really is. It's recognizing yourself as the destination, sort of. You're the destination of your path.
Right.
But it seems that human beings have to walk away from it first to find that I have to come back to it.
Right. I notice that there are a lot of teachers who are willing to take money for books, take money for their words of advice, but in my understanding, all good teachers actually point back to the fact that the spiritual path is within. What we seek is within.
A good spiritual teacher will not give you anything to follow. If someone says to you, "Follow this path," right? Then they're telling you a bunch of nonsense, because any spiritual teacher should just be teaching you something to be aware of yourself. If I can teach you something that you can become aware of yourself, then I'm doing my job, sort of. All I want you to do is look at yourself. And if I can show you different ways to do that, great. Because all of the practices that are done, whether it's a Tai Chi practice, a yoga practice, a meditation practice, all of these things, they're just getting you in they're trying to get you into a quality where you can see it. It isn't it. The practices aren't it. They're just trying to get you into a quality where you can see it. That's what the practices are for.
What is that quality that we're looking for, though? Because here in the West, we need to know what we're looking for.
Yes, we need to know. We need a destination. We want to know what it is.
Yes.
Right? I heard a spiritual teacher say this the other day. It was Sadhguru, actually. I laughed out loud because someone asked him, about heaven. And he said, "Well, what if this was heaven? What if you already did all the work somewhere else, and this was heaven, and you're here, and you made it, and now you're like, really? This is it? This is heaven? Because it's really what you make of it, right?
Yes.
Heaven's what you make of it. So yeah, they want answers. What is it? You know, if there's an answer to it, then it isn't it. You know, equality doesn't have to be something that has a definition. You know, and that's why no spiritual teacher can tell you this is it. This is the feeling, because you can't describe it. It has to be experienced for yourself. And when you experience it for yourself, you go, oh, that's what they're talking about.
Right. Where do you feel? Where do you experience this quality?
You don't experience that quality in your body.
In the mind?
No. Your mind and your body have nothing to do with it. So the quality is beyond the mind and body. So if you try to experience it as a human quality, it's not it. You know, human feelings are just human feelings, you know. We think love is the ultimate. It's just a feeling. Because if
and that comes and goes. That's never
Oh,
been
well,
permanent.
yeah, because, you know, I love you if you're doing this. If you do that, I don't love you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's just a feeling. And it comes and goes. It's like happiness. It comes and goes, right? So that quality is nothing to do with the body, nothing to do with the mind. It's beyond all of that. Yeah. So that's where that resides. In the spiritual path, you know, to call it a path really is, you know, I think it was Rumi who said that your task is not to seek for love, but is to find all the obstacles in your way to realize it's already there. And that's really the spiritual path. It's not a going anywhere. It's just breaking down the barriers to see that it's already here.
Yeah.
You know, you just have a lot of stuff in front of it. The Sufis call it polishing the mirror of the heart. So if you imagine you're looking into a mirror and it's dirty and it's greasy, and you start to polish it, and you start to see a little bit more and a little bit more, and you have to completely clear the mirror so you can see the reflection clearly. Otherwise, it's a distorted image. And boy, do we have a lot of distorted images about life and about society and everything. So we're not seeing things as they are. The spiritual process is just that. It's just breaking down the barriers to seeing yourself.
Would you say that's waking up? Could you say another word or another thought for that might be waking up to my true nature?
Yes, but there are sort of, you know, I want to, using words is tough, but there are levels to being awake and being enlightened, right? A fully enlightened being is a fully realized being, right? But along the way, you can have moments of being awake, and you see things differently. They just all of a sudden think, oh, I see the world in a very different way. So you have a bit of an awakening, and so that process is an awakening. So it's like we were talking about the lotus flower yesterday, and how the lotus flower sits on top of the pond. Maybe it'll be coming out soon. But where does it come from? It comes from the mud, right? So the process is going on all the time. There's awakening happening all the time. It's when the enlightenment happens, pop, there it goes. It just happens like, pop, there it is. So the process is always happening underneath the surface. So there's awakening is a process. And when it happens, when it fully happens, then it just, pop, it just blooms. So sometimes we can get discouraged because we haven't bloomed, but don't give up on the process, because you could be right there, ready to pop, and you say, to hell with this, and then you're in hell.
Yes. But going back to what we said earlier, in nature, the lotus is underwater. It's not worried that it's going to blossom. It inherently knows it's going to blossom. It was created to blossom. So would you say if we were like the lotus, if we just had faith and trust that we would blossom? We're going to anyway, right? So there's
I
no
would say have
trying
faith in the process.
Yeah, faith in the process and that.
Yeah, have faith in the process.
Right. So what are your words of wisdom for finding a spiritual teacher or finding a spiritual direction.
So there's a I know it's sort of a cliche, but in the martial arts we used to use it. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes.
But it actually is a truth. When you're seeking to know yourself becomes very, very strong. I mean very, very strong. When that seeking becomes a part of you, it is a daily practice for you. It's something that you really desire. It becomes a real desire for you. It will show up in your life.
Yes.
It will absolutely show up in your life.
Yes. Fantastic. Thank you, Ed.
You're welcome.